and gentlemen, welcome to the Real Estate World Podcast. All right, so welcome to the Real Estate World Podcast. I'm Scott. We're here today live with Pat Crosby from Crossfit SISU in Excelsior, Minnesota. And Pat's going to talk to us today about how this pandemic has been affecting him, some projects he has going on. Pat's a small business owner like I am. And right now we're facing, I will say, unprecedented challenges, not just from a health-wise, economically, but personally, mentally, physically. There's all kinds of stresses that are on us that, frankly, I don't think anybody could have predicted 3 months ago. And anybody who says that they were predicting this, I would say is probably lying, or let's look at their New Year's predictions and really try to, and even if they were predicting it, who cares? So anyway, Pat, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, why you are the way you are. No, but what's your background, where are you from, and what are you doing right now, and what are the challenges? We'll go through all this, but for now, name, rank, and serial number, please.
Name, rank, and serial number. All right, I'll try to roll through this, but I would say that I'm somewhat of a serial entrepreneur, and I've owned a few businesses dating back to 2000. So I've been through a few of these crises before, in 2001, another one in 2008, but I've never seen anything quite like this before. This one's a little bit unique because government mandated us to shut down. So not only are we dealing with the financial crisis, but we can't even stand up and fight to try to win for the next 30 days for us. So it's very, very difficult times, but we've got a CrossFit gym, as you mentioned, and government mandate has ordered us to shut down. We're membership driven, and we're trying to hang on to all our customers that we can as best we can to ride this thing out.
Well, I think you said something that has kind of been a recurring theme too. As an entrepreneur, business owner, you become what most people refer to as type A. You're an extrovert, and the irony is a lot of entrepreneurs are actually introverts, and they fake it. But whether you take an Enneagram test or Tony Robbins disc profile or whatever, it's always interesting to see where people line up. But I think the biggest thing I took out of what you just said was you can't fight. You're not allowed to go out there and fight. And I don't mean, grabbing the person across the street and kicking their ass in the alley. I mean, but, fighting for your business to survive, right? And provide the services that you provide. Like, people, I don't know what people's perceptions of CrossFit are, but, at its core, it's a community, right? It's a community of people who are there, not just to help each other out physically, but I think there's a real mental health aspect to what you do. And Pat, you can tell me I'm wrong or crazy, but and not being able to be, not for people who are used to going to the gym every morning, who are in that habit, right? And most people would say it's a pretty healthy habit. To have that taken away has an impact on lives. It has an impact on your not just your physical self, but your emotional and psychological self. So what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, well, 100%. And, I started this business literally April 1st of 2010. So we're literally turning 10 years old here in a few days. And then we get smacked.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, no kidding. And we get kind of smacked right in the face with this crisis. So it's just been kind of a nightmare. But when I started the business, I really didn't understand the sense of community that was going to be built within what we're doing. And I use the analogy a lot. It's like we're building this small congregation like a church, but we don't have religion. Our religion is the fitness side of it. But what's interesting is I kind of lost my perceived value of the community side of it over the last 10 years. And now just going through this in the last few weeks, we've got a lot of members and they're all sitting at home. We're trying to stay connected via Zoom and everything else, but the power of having that group and that community together, people are really missing it, that just human connection. And I think within our business, we've got a renewed sense of value of what that really means to us. So we'll probably make some strategic decisions differently going forward on how we manage that. But it's not just fitness. People come for fitness, but they stay for the community. That really is all I can kind of emphasize, is the community is what really drives this thing. And people are being loyal to us right now. And for the most part, are sticking around.
Right. I know you're doing some things creatively to try to reach your community right now. You've adopted some Zoom
Yeah.
type classes every day. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So after, I think the first week, I think there was, I would say there's phases of how this thing kind of rolls out. And phase one was everybody's panicked and there's a run on toilet paper and everything else in the stores and people are just freaking out. And I think my team, once we got our feet on the ground, which took us about a week to kind of get our footing of what was actually happening, then we were able to put a plan in place. I'm actually glad Governor Walz, who I think is doing a fantastic job, but going week to week with the plan was kind of not allowing us to really sink our teeth into what a plan would be. So him making it a 30-day mandate, although that sucks, now at least we can plan. So we did is we formulated a communication plan. It starts off with our members. So members are going to get a weekly, high level communication plan. Number one. Number two, we're doing Zoom classes every day. So we got 3 classes right now. We're adding a 4th. So people are connecting via Zoom. And then we just started this thing today where we're going to do a morning ice break. As you know, part of our culture is we start every single class with introductions and ice break. And I just did the very first one today. Thomas will be rolling his out in a couple days. And those get kind of dicey at times, as you know. So,
I always try to make you look like a fool when you ask me. I'm like, if you're going to ask me a question, you have to let me answer.
Well, it doesn't take much, right? but I think people, as silly as that ice break question seems at times, I think people are kind of missing it. They're missing that camaraderie. So we're trying to bring it live using technology and using Facebook and everything else to keep that going.
So you mentioned, you guys are doing the Zoom classes up, but I know you guys also offer a nutrition program. Like, I'm a member of the gym, full disclosure, and I'm not a shill here for Pat. I'm probably Pat's #1 critic. If nothing else on tech.
You are the hardest critic next to Mark Savage.
Mark Savage, right. Well, Savage has got his own set of issues, but you guys also you offer a nutrition program, and could you talk a little bit about the importance of proper nutrition right now, and go as deep as you want to. We're not. This is an editorial,
sure,
opinion piece right now. We're not giving medical advice to anybody. I'll throw that disclaimer out there right now, even though I am very opinionated when it comes to health right now. As many of you know, my Tumor Tales channel, we talk about, I go live every morning at 6 a.m. and talk about what's going on in the world, of health. But in your opinion, what is the importance of nutrition, and how do you guys play into that equation?
We're actually we've got a very solid nutrition plan. I think the importance of nutrition is mental and physical. But let me just start off. Let me back up. Starting off, the reality is, if you had perfect nutrition, you wouldn't need as much effort into the gym, right? For the majority of people. Not talking about elite athletes and all, it's a whole other class of people. But when you're talking about the common everyday person that just doesn't want to get fat, right? That's really what we want to be able to live our life, have the food we want to eat, maybe have some alcohol, we want to have it, but we don't want to get fat. And I think that's important to point out, because we work really hard in the gym every single day. And if you work out for an hour really hard, then you go out and you eat like crap the rest of the day, well, you just blew up what you just, all the work you put in. So the theory is that abs
I can interrupt there. I'm sorry, but you're right there. Like, and I know this firsthand, cause I was in a nutrition program and I lost like 15 pounds, but I got a really good look at how shitty my diet was.
Right.
Like, absolutely shitty. The high carbs I was taking. And I remember being told, you got to get the carbs down. And, I was drinking back then. So I was just pounding beers and, whatever else. And, I would see, carbs of 200, 300, 400 grams of carbs a day.
Right.
That's like mainlining sugar into your system, right?
Straight up.
And you can't, if I went and ran 30 miles that day, I don't know if I would have burned through those carbs. And I'm exaggerating a little bit, but sorry, like I just want to just highlight that point. You cannot, unless you're, I don't know, the Flash, you cannot outwork a shitty diet. If you're getting wasted every night, if you're just eating dog I should watch this. This is a family friendly show, but whatever. Who gives
Family friendly.
Yeah. Who cares? Who cares? We're being real here. But you really can destroy any of the workout progress you made. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You bring up a really good point. You cannot out exercise a bad diet, right? You cannot out exercise a bad diet. And that's really important. So we get people to come to us all the time, male, female, and most of our client base, I'd say the average age is about 35. We go as high as 60, as low as 25. But average age of people come in and they're like, we always say, what's your goal? And they say, man, I just want to lose some of this fat. I say, okay, great. Well, tell me about your diet. And I'll write down what they have for breakfast, what they have for lunch, and what they have for dinner. And it starts off with a conversation like this. So tell me about what you had for breakfast. I go, no, I don't eat breakfast. I wait till lunch. I go, okay, well, what'd you have for lunch? Well, I had a salad and I put chicken on it and I put dressing on it. I'm like, well, did you measure the dressing? Well, no, but it wasn't very much. So if you look at the servings on a dressing bottle, it's 2 tablespoons. If you know what 2 tablespoons looks like, it's not free pouring it. You're not free pouring that dressing. It's small. And that's where people get into trouble. So people, they try to be keto, they try to be paleo, they try to be South Beach, try to be no carb, high protein. The problem is they're loaded up with fat, and the fat's just a killer. And fat is everywhere. It's in your coffee creamer. So anyway, our program goes through and talks about the balance of protein, carb, and fat in every meal, and it's got to be balanced. You still get 2,000 or so calories, depending on what your goal is and what we're trying to achieve. But at the end of the day, it's the balance of all 3 of those. And once you start measuring things and really seeing what a tablespoon of peanut butter really looks like, Mark Savage is the worst. Look at him. He just eats that stuff right out of his tablespoon. But the truth is,
that ain't peanut butter.
But a tablespoon of peanut butter is not very much. And when you just swab it on, you're getting 40 grams of fat when your daily intake's about 50 or 60.
Right. And I'm watching myself touch my face. So touch your face, folks.
So,
but really in the carbohydrates and the sugars, like it's amazing. Like when your tobacco companies own your food companies, watch out, folks. Oh wait, that's happened right now. Remember the tobacco company. And I'm not going to pontificate too long, but the tobacco companies were telling us in the 60s and 70s, or had doctors on staff telling us not only was smoking not bad for you, it was actually good for you, for a time there. So if you
crazy.
Look at your food labels, and if the list reads like War and Peace, probably not food.
Not food. And sugar is in everything. It's hidden everywhere. Fat is hidden everywhere. So if you add coffee creamer to your coffee, or if you add anything that you're going to add to your diet, like I hear people all the time and they'll say, well, I have an avocado at lunch with my salad because it's good fat. Well, it's good fat, but doesn't mean you get unlimited amounts of it. So, an avocado is going to have 90 grams of fat in it. Go to Chipotle and load up the guacamole they put in there.
Oh God.
You're going to get fat. It's just the way it is. You got to have just some balance in that stuff. Just balance.
Agreed. So what about we talked a little bit about mental health aspect of, fitness. I don't know how far you want to go down that rabbit hole, but just like the good habits, fitness has endorphins that it releases and stuff. Like what happens to people, and again, if I get you too far outside of the beyond the break, well, here, reel me back in. But that's what we do sometimes.
What we're here for.
Yeah, we're here to disrupt. But I know exercise releases endorphins in your system and stuff. What happens when people start exercising who don't, or who stop who have, or just free form? What do you think about the mental health aspect?
I'm shocked, actually, and this kind of, let me get on my soapbox a little bit. I understand we have to have liquor stores open as essential businesses, which on first hand, it seems like kind of a stupid thing, but I get it because there's a lot of alcoholics that are out there that if they don't have alcohol, we're going to create a bigger health crisis and all this other stuff. So whole nother topic to get into down the road. But how could you have a liquor store essential, but you're not going to have a gym be essential to the business? The reason I say that is mental health is a lot right now. I got people texting me nonstop. Hey, can we work out? Can we go for a run? Can I get a barbell? Because sitting at home, sequestered in our house is very difficult without having that human connection. But you hit on a key point, and that's the chemical in our brain that gets released when we work out, and that's the endorphins, right? An endorphin feels great. So if I'm in a bad mood, which I was in a bad mood the last several days, circumstantial, right? It helps me so much to just get a workout in. I don't care what I'm doing. I just got to move. Sometimes it's just going for a walk, but getting that heart rate up and get it going is so powerful. There's other chemicals in the brain also that take place throughout our process. Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, those things they all touch on other parts of our psyche that give us a sense of belonging, which gets into our CrossFit piece, the community down the road. But the dopamine, the red dot on your phone, we keep getting addicted to that quick hit, which is, CrossFit is very fast, and you get an immediate shock, an immediate hit from that dopamine every time we work out. And that keeps people kind of coming back also. So there's a lot of psychology, chemical psychology that behind being part of a group, being part of a community, and the fitness side of it for sure. So
right.
I don't know if that answers some of that question, but the big piece is the endorphins.
No, it does. It's helpful. And, again, there's I don't think there's a right answer here. I think there are answers, right?
Right.
And I think, in the broad spectrum of answers out there, people need to pick out the ones that work for them. And, it's not a one size all fit solution. Just like I can't do cleans and hangs, even though you've showed me how to do them 500 times. It's just, but I focus on the box jumps and not the double unders, but because that works for me, and I still get a great workout and I don't hurt myself, and just knowing what my limitations are. So what do you recommend for people, say, I don't know, 3 things they can do right now? Your gym's closed. You can't, apparently, according to my wife, I can't touch her now. I got to be 6 feet from, no, just kidding. But
Marty tried that too. I wasn't, so none of that.
But you like what, any tips, like top couple, 2-3 tips people can do to maintain, just not just healthy body, but mind throughout this, whatever it could be, another month?
Yeah. It's going to be a month for sure. But the number one thing I would tell everybody to do is go to our Facebook page or our website and just click on, we got free classes. We got 4 free classes a day. There's Zoom classes. They're free. They're live. We got a live coach going on right now. I don't know how many people are on that class right now, but we can fill it with as many as can log in. So just start moving. And a lot of these workouts are designed where, hey, you've got a milk jug, use that. You got a chair, I want you to use that chair. So we're using household items for people to use as weights to load up, to put a little bit of load on things to move. So, you could be in your kitchen. Doesn't really matter where you do it. Just start moving. So follow those classes. And if you can't do that, just get out and run for 30 seconds and then walk for 30 seconds. Run for 30 seconds and just go. Because we know that some activity creates emotion and helps us ease our mind no matter what, right?
Right.
Activity creates action. So just start moving, get your heart rate going, and then it's going to help ease that mind a little bit more. For sure. You'll guaranteed to come out of a workout, any movement, with a better headspace than you were going into it.
Okay, awesome. So I want to pivot now to toilet paper. No, I do want to say, as a property management company, because of the run on toilet paper, which again, there's a psychology in play there. In times of crisis, people want to do something, and apparently buying toilet paper is something they can check off the list and get that dopamine hit of accomplishment. But we're actually seeing people now using wipes and flushing them down toilets and plugging up the main lines and properties and stuff. So public service announcement, and this is direct line to Pat Crosby: do not use wipes and flush them down the toilet. That's going to cause a problem. All right.
We need to be in the bidet. We need to be selling the bidets like that.
Yeah, the bidets. There's a run on bidets right now. It's called a garden hose. All right, it's warm enough to turn your external spigot on. So at least my kids think that's what's going on. So what I've been having a lot of conversations this week, both online, offline, with small business owners regarding some of the more economic issues that we're facing, right? The
Right.
strain on businesses. And this is a real thing. Like you're seeing it happen, the much publicized Kim Bartman restaurant empire that crumbled starting on city pages this week and then moved into the Star Tribune and then, got a lot of press about she couldn't, didn't, whatever you want to say. I'm not taking a side on this. I'm just reporting what I've read, where she didn't make her last payroll, and people are, obviously they're upset, right? They've worked and they've got money that they have earned, and they should get paid, right? So, but this restaurant empire was, when you said Barbette and you had, was it Tiny Diner? I think she had, I don't know. I know them all, of course. Now I have stage fright. I can't remember them, but Kim Bartman was, Pat, you know what that is. The Kim Bartman was like one of these people who was lauded as one of the great operators in Minneapolis, right? And she brought a lot of jobs, and she brought a lot of like restaurants to communities and stuff. And then we saw what happened which was 2 or 3 weeks of economic downturn. She became, for me, the canary in the coal mine of what's happening right now at a lot of kitchen tables. If people still have kitchen tables, maybe they're islands.
Yep.
Maybe it's people hiding in the bathroom at the toilet seat, looking at their finances and wondering what the hell they're going to do. Like, what the hell am I going to do? I have, X number of employees. I'm not bringing any revenue. My savings are this. My business accounts are depleted. I've spent 5 to 10 years building this thing. What the hell am I going to do? Like, and that's a real question. Like, and I always joke, like, since being in business for myself and being a landlord, I said, there's no one gives a shit about the landlord, right? Because they think he's the fat cat. I think I posted on Facebook, the fat cat in a loincloth being fed dates by the palace eunuch, right? It's whatever, I don't think there's eunuchs anymore, but there shouldn't be anyway. If there are, I'm against it. But the landlord, the business owners rarely looked at with favor as someone who is just like everyone else, who's trying to not just earn a living, live out some dream, but also providing jobs. Are you aware? Have you been following at all what's happening on a state and sorry, that was a long preamble, wasn't it, to the question? But what's been happening on a state and federal level, like different kinds of help for the small business owners? Are you following that at all? Are you tracking it?
Yeah. And, I started digging into that, kind of right away. Our first plan that we did is we put our best knowledge that we could with the just the atrocious information that's coming out in the media. There seemed in the beginning, there was like just horrible information. Nobody really knew what was going on. The media was creating hysteria, which I suppose you could say has positive, negative effects, all that kind of stuff. But we really weren't sure what to think. But then as time kind of evolved over a very quick period of time, but as time evolved, you start to see the reality of what's really taking place. And that's where we really started to put our plan together to go, okay, how long can we survive if we get hit with this many cancellations? How long can we survive with this many? And then what plans do we put in place? Fortunately for me, I've been through this a couple of times in 2001 and again in 2008 with 3 different companies. So I've got some experience, but again, I go back to I've never been in a situation where no, you can't even do anything other than push it out all online. But with that being said, then you hear from the media and the government that there's going to be this SBA bill out. You can hit unemployment. Everybody's eligible. You've got a guaranteed, I can't remember the acronym for it, but it's an emergency loan in the state of Minnesota for up to $25,000. So really the only real option for us was we're going to push what people we can on unemployment. That's number one. But to ask me to be a government and shut my business down and then ask me to go borrow money that I'm going to have to pay back or that I got to put a personal guarantee on is kind of bullshit. I don't want to go finance what I've already built for 10 years to just survive, to fight another day and have to pay that back. It's not my fault. I know it's not the government's fault, all that kind of stuff, but even the SBA piece, they make it sound like it's a money grab, but there's a lot of restrictions around it. There's a lot of restrictions around the current SBA loan that I've seen. And the biggest one is you can't use it to consolidate debt. You can't use it to pay debt. You can't use it for growth. You can only use it to pay bills, pay rent, payroll, which seems to me like I'm not going to finance that. So we took pretty dramatic actions.
Yeah, I agree. And again, this is changing always. This is March 27th, 2020, 12:27 Central Daylight Time for those of you listening. So this is a point in time where this is what's going on. So if you listen to it in May of 2021, you say, "Oh, this is different." Well, of course, like it's evolving. But I too look at some of this stuff and I'm like, okay, like for businesses that are forced to close, you can't bring in income, and the only recourse is to take out a loan with a personal guarantee. And for those of you that don't know what a personal guarantee is, it means that you are personally, Jeremy from the dungeon. Great. He's joining us. This is our producer, Jeremy. I'm going to unmute him, although I don't know what's going on in the background, so that's always dangerous. It looks like there's somebody chained up to the back wall there, which is awesome. This
is day -3 of my self-quarantine.
There we go. So he does not have COVID-19. He's joking. Yeah. But but like as a business owner, and again, most business owners are not operating. They're not. This isn't the old department store where you ask, is there more money in back? Well, like a pair of shoes. There's no more money in back for most people. The money is all out in front. And again, I know most people get that. For those that don't, I just want to be clear. There's no money in back for most business owners. There's less than 30 days of cash flow. And if the money stops coming in, the business ceases to function.
Yeah, but Scott, so let me pick up on that, because what's fascinating to me through this whole thing is how delicately woven the entire economy is. It's so delicate because my wife and I are both, professional people, peasants, but we're professional.
Loosely defined
as professional peasants. We're not in the upper 1%, and we're not a big airline, but imagine these airlines don't even have enough cash to float for a month.
It's not just the small businesses. It's the big companies too. It's the middle-sized companies. Like, yeah.
Fortunately, I'm a spender. I like to, fly high and all that kind of stuff. I got a business partner who he's the opposite. So he's very frugal and conservative, and that's how we've managed our business. Luckily, so we got hit with this. We're sitting in a really good position. We can flex our own incomes, which we've taken pay cuts. We've foregone. So we've dove into the pile ourselves to sacrifice as well, and we're pushing everything back on our landlords. But it was highlighted to me how fragile everything is woven together and how little cash everyone has in a crisis. And if you're someone who's got credit card debts and you're leveraged too much, which I experienced that in 2008. I was way over my tips in 2008, but everything was invincible back then. You thought you could fly through anything. And when those capital calls come in, they're not very good.
Yeah. This is so different than that, right? Wouldn't you agree? Like
yeah, because it's maddening, because I feel like both arms are tied behind my back.
Yeah, because not like then. Well, in a lot of ways it was simple. You just walked away, but in this case, it might become that simple too, where people just are saying, you know what? I was just having this conversation with a real estate client who was, kind of freaking out a little bit about some stuff, and I know I helped him out. I know that, me calling him and spending 25 minutes on the phone, I helped him. And that made me feel awesome. It made me feel like it gave me power, because I could actually do something to help somebody.
Right.
Like I know when that conversation ended, he was like, all right, yeah, cool. I'm glad I know Scott, and for once in my life, I've actually added something to the universe. So I feel good, but
I'm sure you do a lot more than that.
Yeah, but God, I lost my train of thought. I was giving myself a pat on the back, and then I
got you a pat on the back.
What's that?
Our things we're doing right now are very different. We've got clients that are crawling out of their skin sitting at home. and they're like, I don't know how I'm going to make it through 30 days of this. So we're coming up with our content on social media to try to keep people engaged as much as we can. We're letting people check equipment out if they want to check something out, if they need something. That's on a case-by-case basis. We're not renting it. We're doing it on a needs basis. And that seems to be, you know, an effective solution for people right now too.
Is that where Josh got that box that he was in his garage? Did he take?
Yes. Yep.
Ah.
Have you seen him using it? Is he just putting beers on it?
Well, both. I mean, putting beers on it is using it, right?
Right.
That counts.
Box jumps, but
yeah, no. Max was doing box jumps. There was a video on Facebook, so that's good. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we're doing that, and you know, we'll loan it out until it's picked over. You know, until it's gone. But
yeah, no, that's good. Maybe I'll get one of those. You got any left?
Not for you, but
Okay.
if Jess comes by, we'll get her box.
Okay. Well, that's usually how it works. So that's called normal. But you know, this was I get my train of thoughts back. I always blame the tumor, but I believe the tumor's gone. So this was a black swan event. Like this was like something that, you know, we all heard about coronavirus from afar. And the reason we didn't hear much, and I'm not going to go off on a tangent, is because guess what? State-run media in China wasn't telling us what was going on, period. End of conversation. So, and this idea that we have more cases here, well, they're using this word salad called confirmed cases. But, you know, there just wasn't testing there. But, like, tell me who knew that the magnitude of this would be this, like, 2 months ago? Nobody did. Like,
Nobody.
You know, because that guy would be worth $3 trillion because they would have shorted the stock market and everything else. So,
do you mean like our politicians sold their stock?
Yeah. Oh wait, yeah, them. Oh yeah, yeah.
Is that what you mean? Like I just got a high level, high security classified briefing. Now I'm going to liquidate my portfolio. You mean those guys?
Yeah. Oh gee, yeah, that pisses me off too. God, yeah. I'm not really.
Well, it should cause alarm for everybody, you know. But anyway, don't get me started, Scott.
Yeah, but I mean, the layperson who wasn't given privileged information, we could have known this was gonna, like, this is something that is so different. And you know, I've spoken of this a bit this week. It reminds me of growing up on the farm when I was 7 years old in the 80s, when like I think 2/3 of the farms went under. Okay, in the 80s. And like I was 7, 8, 9 years old. 10 years was like 5 years of misery for us. And like my whole world was falling, was crumbling. Like I couldn't do anything. I was powerless. And you feel a little bit like that now. And I think that it's important for people to say, okay, wait, what difference can I make today? What difference can I make starting with this guy right here between the ears? How can I make a difference there? Starting with my mindset. All right. How can I, oh my God, there's a side duck, but how can I like do something, one thing, you know, and then how can I do, you know, and then tomorrow, how can I do another thing, and start developing habits where you can actually take power back. Because I think, especially for entrepreneurs and I'm sure for most people, not having that control, like feeling like you've had that control taken from you, right? That I can't, like you said earlier and in the podcast, where you said I can't go out and fight, right? But maybe you can, right? And it's just you're fighting a different way now, right? There's a different way, you know, and maybe that's and it's still you can't bring on new members that come to the gym, you know. What is that thing? And maybe it's not enough, but how do we, you know, how do we find that thing inside us where we can say, you know, and maybe fighting is finding some help and swallowing your pride. Maybe that's fighting. You know, you got to fight that voice in your head that says, and I'm talking to anybody who cares to listen right now, and if that's nobody, fine. But, you know, that says, hey, I've got pride, and, you know, pride don't pay. You ever see Pulp Fiction? Ving Rhames talking to Bruce Willis's character, whatever the hell his name was. And he's like, you're going to feel a sting. That'll be pride fucking with you. Fuck pride. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, you know, like where can I get help to get through this? And I don't mean loans. Like for the small business owner who is out of money, taking out $100,000 loan to make payroll may not be the smartest thing to do, right?
No,
I mean,
I
and
agree.
it may be, I don't know. It depends on your situation. But
Right.
if it's a loan you got to pay back, well, you better be damn sure you know that you can pay it back.
Right.
Or are you going to take it on faith? I mean,
no, I get it. And I think that, one of the things you hit was my wife always says to me, hey, put your oxygen mask on first.
yes.
Kind of like in the plane. I got to put my oxygen mask on first, then I can go start trying to help someone else. And it took my team probably about a week, maybe 5 to 7 days, where we're sitting there on the very first meeting when this thing came out. We're all kind of staring at each other. And as a leader of the business, I'm like, guys, I don't know what's going on right now. But we got to stay calm. Let's not panic. Took us a few days, and then we came up with a communication plan. And once, I call it the light at the end of the tunnel, and I just wrote about this in my blog yesterday. But hope right now is a strategy, right? And if everybody can wrap their head around, what does the end look like? Where's the end? So when Governor Walz said, we're doing this till May 1st, thank you. Now I can focus everyone on, we got a plan to get to May 1st. Now we need to over communicate it. Now we can all rally around something, because and I know that when we're running a company and leading, if the people are scattered all over making up their own decisions and no one knows, if we're not telling them what to focus on, they're going to focus on the wrong things, and they're going to. So stay close, pull the team close together, and sell that message of hope is really what we're trying to do at this time, and just keep everybody calm. And then the waters, a couple days, the waters are going to calm. Everybody's going to find a new sense of normal. And as Americans, as SISU members, we're going to fly through this thing. We will fly through it.
And we're going to get through it. Like
100%.
There is going to be, oh my gosh, my computer just freaked out. This Cortana thing just went off. Uh-oh. NSA is going to come. There's guys here to shut me down. This is like Pump Up the Volume, Christian Slater. Remember that movie from the 80s?
I think that's a good point, Pat. My old boss used to always say, whenever the word hope came up, that hope is not a strategy. But, I think just even in the neighborhood here, I put my Christmas lights on the last couple nights, and, people are posting on Facebook, look at this guy. I mean, he's got his freaking Christmas lights on.
Right.
It's actually kind of nice to see that, and for me, it gives me a sense of hope. Like, okay, this might really suck. There's no snow and I have my Christmas lights on. What type of environment is this? But for other people to see, hey, there is light here, and it's a great opportunity. It might be a really bad situation, but it's also a great opportunity to, hey, at least it's not in the middle of January. You can go outside and sit next to a fire and just maybe create some memories during this time, where if it was normal business, you wouldn't have that opportunity. So even though we're all kind of stuck in our caves, me more so than others, from the looks of it, there's still an opportunity to make a difference. And even if you can't go over to your neighbor's house, you could still give them a little bit of hope and happiness. So
you can still give him the finger from the window. He can't come over.
Right.
I agree with you 100%, and I agree with your boss, where hope in normal times, in normal business, like our business was humming along. We were on pace to do another 20% growth. And I would say hope wasn't a strategy then. But my world, somebody threw a grenade in the middle of my world, and now the strategy is a little bit different. And I'm not saying hope is all there is. I'm not saying that, but the power of the human spirit when it's combined together is, it, Scotty. I've seen you with all your brain stuff. You focused your mind. Now I'm assuming you're healthy and everything's gonna be fine. Maybe you can give us an update on that later. But that the power of the mind is great, and nobody's gonna beat the spirit out of us. I don't mean to be on a soapbox about this, but right now, hope is what everybody needs. Everybody needs hope right now.
Yeah.
And
in times like these, hope is definitely a strategy.
Well, right. And here's the thing, guys.
Good mindset.
Yeah, and here, sorry, Jeremy, I've talked over you like normal, but that's Jeremy's job, is to be talked over on and many other like very terrible things I do to him. But the thing is, like, being honest. Like, leadership is also like it's saying, look, we're a little fucked right now.
Yep.
You know what? Like, yeah, let's let's assess the situation for what it is. Okay. This is bad. Like, you know, there's bad things about it. There's also good things, but let's define it. But here's what the other side looks like. We're not sure how long it's going to take, but that point up there on the hill is where we're going. And we're going to probably have to fight a bear. Well, on the way there, we're probably going to have a Tyrannosaurus Rex chase us. And here's the tools we have to get there.
Today, here's what we got.
Here's what we got today, and tomorrow that's going to change, and then we're going to reevaluate tomorrow. But you don't want to fearmonger anybody, but you also don't want to lie to people because they can tell, right? If they say, "Oh yeah, everything's fine," you're going to be that guy. Yeah, okay, you know, like, yeah, I could say like, "Hey, I'm really healthy right now," but you know, the fact of the matter is, last time I was at the doctor in December, I had a brain tumor. Okay, well, so what? I admit I had that, but I feel really healthy. I feel really energized. I went for a 4-mile run this morning. Okay. And you know, well, I could feel sorry for myself there. I really could, or, you know, I could lay up and not do anything, but I chose not to, right? We could not, like, there was a part of me that was like, well, oh, you could do your podcast, you know, no one's going to want to listen to you. Like, that's the inner voice saying, I'm like, you know what? There might be one person who benefits from this. His name's Pat Crosby. No, it's me. It's me. Like, it's me, because I get to go out and say, you know what, plant my flag and say, you know what, this is what I believe. This is how I'm going to try to help people. And this is, you know, and I'm going to help other people get their message out. And if no one cares, fine. You know what? Guess what? If I wouldn't do it, guess how many people would care?
None.
So what am I out? What else am I going to do?
Well, you bring up a really solid point, and this is human nature, right? Human nature is, majority of people, if they can choose positive or choose negative, majority of people are going to choose something negative. They're going to, and you don't have to look anywhere but turn your TV on or Facebook. It's filled with garbage, right? I just saw a video of Denzel Washington. He said, you know, there's 2 things you can do with learning about media. He said, number one is you can not watch it at all and be uninformed, or you can watch it and be misinformed. So there's so much misinformation that's out there, and disinformation. We don't really know. So I got to kind of keep my head out of that stuff because it will send me into a tailspin. But being positive and hopeful is a choice. Just like you said, you can choose what to do. So I wake up every morning, I get up. First thing I do is I do get some quiet time in the morning. I read, study, write in the journal a little bit. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes, not a big deal, but it gets my day started and gets me off on the right foot. And if everybody just did one little thing in the morning to set that day straight, it's a choice, and you can make it yes or no. We all have shitty circumstances we're faced with. It's a matter, and they're always going to be there. No matter where you're at in your life, you're going to have them. You got to just choose to deal with it, because we're the only ones that can deal with it, and just mental.
Yeah, there's a great book, and then we're going to do a pivot here, but a great book by James Allen called As a Man Thinketh. You could put woman there too. You know, it's not meant to be sexist, but there's a quote in there, and I say it to myself over and over again, and trust me, I don't always win with this quote, but it's this: circumstance does not create the man. It only reveals him to himself. And as we go through these things, you remember this. Remember this one thing. When we look back a year from now, you're going to look at how you handled this, and you're going to have to live with that version of the story. And if you can look back and say, I did the best I possibly could with the information I had available with my current self at the time, you're never going to have any regrets. So I do that every day. I'm like, you know, there's some days I'm just pissed off. Like, I'm just like, just for it could be any number of reasons, right? We choose our emotions choose us. We choose them, right?
That was my point. That's kind of my point. Yeah.
Yeah. And you look at it, you know, they say circumstance doesn't care about your emotions, right? They just are. And we're the ones who overlay the emotions on them. So I want to pivot now and to Pat, you're doing a blog. You are a admitted drunkard, right?
Yep.
Okay. I mean, as am I. So you're in good company here. And if we can't make fun of ourselves and Pat, who can we make fun of?
I got nothing. Another night.
Yeah. So you've been doing, you started your quest for sobriety, or on this, this mission. You accepted the mission that you gave yourself in October of 2019.
Yep.
So, sober October. Inspired by me, I believe. But I wasn't sober.
We're going to touch on that, actually.
All right. So you went on this journey and have stayed on the path of sobriety, and you started doing a blog post daily.
Yep.
On Facebook, with, I believe, I'm editorializing here. Someday you'll put that in a book, I hope. And why don't you tell people about that a little bit, kind of how that manifested itself? What were the genesis of it, and where you're hoping to go with it?
Well, I'll try to unpack this as precisely as I can. But I was a typical kid. Started drinking when I was 15 years old, maybe 14, give or take a year or two.
12.
But throughout my life, alcohol has always been somewhat of a problem. Drugs have become a problem. Things like that. We'd go through peaks and valleys where I just get to a point where I was always uncomfortable with how much and how often things were happening. And I was probably to a point where I was drinking, a typical guy. I'd have like a drink on Monday, 2 on Tuesday, probably drink too much on Wednesday. Thursday I'd take off because I was a little too hungover. And then Friday is a weekend, so you could just let it rip. So I could start drinking at 2 or 3 on Friday and drink through kind of the weekend.
Yeah, why not, right?
A little day drinking on Saturday, a little day drinking on Sunday, those kinds of things. So that was kind of my pattern. And it just got to a point where I was really, really uncomfortable with it. But there were 2 things, I'll say there's 2 things that put me really to a point where I wanted to quit. And I've tried to quit a couple times. I was sent to rehab in 2009 by a therapist. He said, "Hey, you gotta get into some rehab." And I literally went for 1 day, stayed there for about 15 minutes. I'm like, this is bullshit. I can't, I'm not a quitter. I can't do this. And so I left. And that journey has kind of stayed with me up and down through drinking. But in last year of 19, in March of 19, just about a year ago, my youngest daughter had a mental breakdown because she had quit drinking in November of 2018. So she was sober while in college, right? She was a sophomore in college, junior in college. She quit drinking. She had a nervous breakdown as a result of no alcohol, with no treatment. All she was doing was going to meetings and whatnot. And it put her into a lockdown security hospital. So there was, mention of suicide, things like this. So it was a pretty serious situation. So I had to kind of self-reflect on that, of what was going on. And then she got into a pretty intense outpatient program that got her kind of straight on the straight and narrow. Fast forward, I'm still drinking, not really dealing with my own issues. And then I get a text message from you, of all people. And I'm driving to the state fair with my wife, and we just parked the car, and I'm standing there. I'm reading this text message as we're 33 miles away from the state fair, trying to find a place to park. I'm reading this, and I handed it to my wife, and we both just started like crying. We're like, what in the world? Like, I was so, both these events like moved me in a way. Like, one, I was like, what have I taught my daughter? I feel so bad I can't help her. To me, seeing myself reflected in you and your life flashing in front of your eyes. And all I could think of at that moment as I'm drinking a beer at the state fair was thinking, am I going to go out the same way? And I pissed my whole life away being drunk, because it really kind of, and I've been, I've achieved a lot in my life, and I've done a lot of things, but alcohol has always been one thing that's just held me back for one reason or another. And I just didn't want to go through the next 20 or 30 years feeling that way. So you had a profound impact on me, and that was in August at State Fair. Then it hit me hard. And I couldn't imagine what position you were in, but all I could think of was I have to make some changes. So we came up with this idea. Actually, my business partner, Thomas, said, hey, we should do Sober October. And I think it's probably because he and I were both drinking too much. We're thinking we should probably do something just to give ourselves a reason to not drink for a month. And it just turned into this, I'm never going to drink again. And I did start writing I wrote every single day in October about my experience. And now I write once a week in my blog, and it's touching on 4 different things: spiritual, family, financial, and self, which those are the 4 pillars that I've identified that get out of balance if you're too selfish, or if you're too religious, or if you're too whatever. Sorry, go ahead. If I'm talking too much. Scotty, did I lose you? I think I lost you.
Hey, Pat, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Scott's connection went, he's frozen on my screen.
Yeah, he's frozen on mine too. So I don't know where we were going for that. I thought he was going to say something, but I wasn't sure.
Oh, there he is. We lost you for a second there, Scott.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on. It was probably the NSA trying to shut us down. Pat was telling too much. He's probably getting to those.
Was I oversharing? I don't want to overshare.
No, we're good. You're not oversharing. I think it's fantastic. And the question I was gonna ask was the genesis of this started years ago, right? Like you were like, I mean, like just kind of your 4 pillars and stuff. This is something you finally started to do, right? You had the catalyst, but I believe you've thought about this for a while, right?
Yeah, I started to write a book in 1996, and at the time I had just one daughter, and I hadn't had my second daughter yet. I was a young professional slugging it out, but I've always had this thought in my head that, because I came out of a Christian college, and even still we didn't drink a lot in college. We partied a little bit, but I just saw life getting out of balance, where I was an athlete in college. I played college hockey, and I started to get fat and get out of shape, and I lost myself trying to build a family and a career. And you're trying to manage, these four balls that you're trying to juggle in the air that create, in my mind, a balanced, healthy lifestyle. And if you only just believe, focus on your religious side, then probably financial side is going to fail. Other things are going to fail and fall to the wayside. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the thing with self, I'm just totally self-absorbed working out, and that's all I ever want to do, which I kind of do now. But everything else kind of loses its place in line, and everything needs to be balanced out.
Well, you kind of different things, as if you invest too much time, it become forms of sedation, right? Working out, it's great, but if all you do is spend your time at the gym, palling around with the gym rats, and then you forsake your kids, your wife, your friend, your other friends, your work, well, then that's a problem. That's sedation. You're hiding out there, right? And you come, and they're different kinds of addictions, right? Alcohol gets the most press, as drugs and whatever, because those are bad, right? If you abuse them. Smoking, the smoker gets it the worst, right? Because everyone looks at the smoker like they've got a
coronavirus. Like you got the coronavirus.
Yeah, or worse. But the reality is the smoker, that's one thing. But what about the person who's addicted to painkillers or antidepressants, or and not to diminish the underlying, but there's an underlying condition there, right? And people, sometimes that condition is loneliness. Like a lot of times that's what the real condition is. It's loneliness and fear and inadequacy, all these terrible things that, as men, I know we all feel it. Like one of my biggest problems, I guess, issues, is the desire to be for approval, right? Because I didn't get enough as a kid. So I always want to be, I always want to show people like, hey, look what I did, look at the car I got, or the boat, or the house, or, or God, did I do a great job now? Like I want people to say you did a good job.
Right.
And in a lot of ways that has led me down to some destructive behavioral patterns. I mean,
think of it this way. There's the 4 pillars, right? You got those 4 pieces of your life, and they're hard enough to manage without any outside influence. But then when you take alcohol and throw it on the top as an umbrella, my biggest discovery that I found is, and I've talked to a lot of people about not drinking and what it feels like. And what I discovered by not drinking is I have a lot of social anxiety when I go out into a crowd. And so what do? If you invite me over for dinner, I'm going to have 2 drinks before I even get there, just because it creates this social anxiety for me. And I am a little bit of an introvert, where I don't really need to be in crowds for very long. I do much better where you and I might go out one-on-one or a couple, I'm really good. But when it gets to be a big group of people, it creates a lot of anxiety for me, and it's hard for me. But I wouldn't have discovered that had I have not put down alcohol. So you start to, all this stuff, when you get rid of alcohol for a period of time, I'm not talking, hey, I didn't drink for 3 days, but I haven't drank for 181 days. And you start to feel, what's that?
I said, who's counting?
Who's counting? Just me. But it's like you start to feel all these different things you never felt before, and then you can start to deal with them, right? And I didn't realize I had some of the issues that I had until I put down alcohol. Completely put it down. Just because you basically just shut your brain off, and that's your coping mechanism. You may not be coping with stress, but it might be social anxiety, it might be financial stress, it might be you don't like the person you're with. It could be a number of different things, but we drink to suppress an emotion, and we just bury it. And it gets buried so far we don't even know what we're burying anymore, right? Because nobody starts drinking alcohol at the age of 15 because they go, man, I really like the taste of that vodka, or that tequila tasted really great, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's an acquired taste. I'm very sophisticated. I only drink Patron. Okay. All right. Whatever. Just
Right.
I get you. You know what I'm saying? It's people drink to suppress. I love going and get drunk. It's fun. It's super fun to do, right? I like it, but I just know it's bad for me. And I have that addictive personality where I'm not going to stop at one. My wife can have one glass of wine and leave half of it in the glass when she's done. That doesn't happen to me. There's a little bit in the bottle, it's gone, right?
Me either. Like I would never, that was always the thing. Like I could not leave a table, like when we were done with dinner or whatever, without finishing not just my drink, but like everybody else's too. And I said, well, it's because I grew up poor and we never had any money. And I mean, that might have been part of it, but that certainly wasn't the only reason, right? And
but it's a small part, right?
yeah, there was a small part. And the thing is, I was never people who don't have problems with alcohol, people who are not, let's call it, we're alcoholics, who don't have that chemical thing that happens, or I think it's really more, it's an emotional thing that helps with the secretion of the chemical or whatever it is, a dependency. If they don't have that programming, they don't have those tendencies, it's really hard for them to understand. Like, and right. No judgment here at all. Like, because I've had it said to me numerous times, well, I don't know why you can't just go out and have one. Well, if I knew the answer to that, I would go out and just have one. Do you think I enjoy coming home pissing my pants while I sleep? Do you think that I enjoy the blackouts and then the next day of shame, and then again, no judgment to anybody. Like these are things I have to carry, and things that I have to, it's like a counseling session. Thank you, Pat. I'm on the couch.
You started it. You're doing great. You're doing great. Yeah, go.
No, but I mean, those are things that, the next morning you wake up and you're just like, what the hell happened? Like, why did I act that way? And you don't know. You're like, I was having you go from having a fantastic evening to like the biggest asshole in the world. And you're just like, what the fuck was that?
Right. Yep.
And everyone handles it differently. And you could say, well, I remember I going to, AA, and AA, it helps thousands, tens of thousands, millions of people. I've really only gone to, I think, about 6 meetings in my life, and I've gone at different points.
Sure.
And most recently I went to one in November, and it was coming off of just doing some dumb shit and things I'm not going to talk about today. But the friend of mine, Morgan McAdam, went with me, and he's the same guy who went to me like 3 years ago to a meeting. And I remember going there, right? And before I left, I read from the big book, and, Morgan gave me his copy 3 years ago. And there was a phrase in there, the excuses that alcoholics make, for what, their behavior, right? Because, I always say, well, one of mine was, oh, you have a high floor, right? Like,
Right.
Another one of my favorites was, oh, you know what? Well, I go to work every day. I make the money, and like I make more, like, whatever. Like I'm doing fine. I'm producing. I'm a business owner. I'm out there working. As long as I go to work the next day, it doesn't matter. Well, yeah,
Right. With the whistle, we can do that because we're drivers, right? We're
yeah,
drivers.
and it's all bullshit, right? Like at the end of the day, it's all bullshit. So it takes but it's not easy because, like you said, and I've read it in your posts where you talk about the gravitational pull, I'll use my word, but the influence, whatever, that alcohol tends to have on our lives, meaning like you start adjusting your behaviors to make sure that you can accommodate the alcohol. Whether it's
Everything's planned around alcohol.
happy hour, going to the airport, 8 a.m. flight, doesn't matter. The bar's open. That means it's time for a drink. Noon flight, bar's open, means it's time for a drink. 5 o'clock flight means it's time for a drink. And you just, and I read that in one of your posts once, and I'm like, because your guys were going, I think it was last fall, and I'm like, it made me think about, when I think about that every time I fly now, like I walk by, just last month, I walked by the last bar, the last place on planet Earth where I had an alcoholic beverage, and I've walked by.
That's awesome to see it, right? Because you're like, I'm not sitting in there, right?
Yeah, and I'm just like, like it every time I do it at the airport, I'm like, wow, it gives me pause, and I'm like, and I'm glad I do think about what's happened, and what mistakes I've made, and how, and then but not in a self-loathing, feel sorry for myself way, but how can I help other people now?
Right.
By sharing my story, make them feel like, hey, you're not, yeah, there's something messed up, but how can we help you get through it?
Yeah, and one of the big things that happened early on, like I this whole social distancing thing we're going through right now, I've been living it since October last year, because as soon as I quit drinking, in October, it was just sober October, and then my business partner's like, you've been pretty cool on not drinking. Are you thinking about maybe not doing it anymore? I'm like, I don't think I ever will, but I'm going to take it one day at a time. I'm not going to do it. But it turned into this, I'm going to do it for 1 year. I'm going to do no alcohol for 1 year. And then right away I had a lot of people, phone quit ringing. Nobody wants to hang out. So social distancing happened to me a little bit from that. But at the end of the day, all those people that, I was like, gosh, everybody's treating me so different. And they're like, no, they're not treating you different. You're different. Like, I'm different from it, not them the other way around. I'm the one that's acting very different. So that adjustment kind of happened. The second thing is when you start to just add up the money that you're saving just from the cost of alcohol, going to the liquor store or going to a restaurant, our bills are cut in half every single time we go out to eat. It's unbelievable how much money you save, right? So I like to say, pick the reason why you don't want to drink, and it's a good one. I don't care what it is, just pick one. Because a lot of guys our age, like I would say I'm an alcoholic, but I wasn't an alcoholic where I got to get up and have a glass of vodka in the morning. I would just get up and drink, start drinking at 2 p.m. if I could on a Friday, and I would just carry that through the weekend. It'd be noon on Saturday, noon on Sunday. But I could also walk away from it for a day or two. I'm not one that gets up and goes, I got to have vodka, right? I just was never that person. So then I go, was I an alcoholic? What degree? Who cares? I drank too much. I was uncomfortable. It was a horrible experience, right? And that's kind of where I've just put it down. But a lot of people are in our boat where they're not full-blown, I got to get up and have vodka for breakfast, but they just drink too much and they don't even know how good they can feel. And you don't realize it for about 90 days in, because you're about 4 months, right?
Yeah, like 4.5.
But 90 days you start to go, man, I really feel good. Like my body feels good. My complexion's getting a little better. Just things just happen that are good. They're positive.
And I think you start changing your habits too. Like you start getting accustomed to a different set of activities. Like it takes some work. Like if you spend 20 years letting your life have be highly influenced by activities that include alcohol, when you switch to a lifestyle that doesn't include that, it's going to take a little bit of work. You know, people who are going to happy hour aren't going to call you up suddenly and say, hey, Pat, Scott, let's go for a bike ride. No, you have to take the initiative.
Right.
You know, you're like, well, why aren't people calling me? Well, they're freaking happy hour. Of course they're not calling you, right? Because they think you don't want to be there. You might want to be there. You probably don't want to be there 4 hours, happy hours, but you know, you show up for an hour. But you know, you have to like tell people like, you know, it's okay to invite me, you know, because they assume that you don't want to be there. You know?
Yeah, and I have a couple friends, you know, a couple friends that when we go to their house, they invite us over, and they'll have my mocktail kind of thing set up for me. So they're real accommodating to it. But the hardest part was like on a weekend where my wife and I, our Friday night routine would be we'd go hit Ike's on Friday night, one of our favorite restaurants to go to. But the second I walk in, Mikey sees me and he's got my martini, he knows exactly how I like my martini. He's got it waiting for me sitting there at the bar. So I can't go there, right? Because that just was drinking for me. Well, I love to go to Coalition because Danny, the girl behind the bar, she's got my old fashioned there for me. I can't go there anymore. Can't go to Yumi's because they got the tall Sapporos that are so good with my sushi. You know what I'm saying? So you get the point, but every place was like a trigger for me. So we've had to like really re-engineer the way we do things and the way we're hanging out just to function. You know, it's crazy. So my poor wife gets tortured along the way, dragging her to Chipotle with me in places like that now. Because she would never eat that. But it's kind of wild stuff. You know, the drinking, the whole not drinking is it's like a whole new life for me. And it's just really enlightening to start to really dig into your brain without having that alcohol there to suppress your emotions and your thoughts, because they just don't get to go away.
Right. So Wayward Sons you're doing every week, right?
Yeah, weekly, every Thursday.
How long are you going to do it?
Well, the goal is to turn it into a book at some point. So my wife and I were on vacation. We just mapped out the 4 quadrants. You know, again, you've got the family, financial, spiritual, and self. And we each contributed to what our family value is. She did hers, I did mine. Like, what's my value in each one of these categories? Like, as a family, what's our value? She put down the same thing. What's her value? What does it mean to her? And then we just meshed them both together. And that's going to be kind of the foundation and the framework for this book of how do you create this legacy culture that you're going to pass on to your kids. And what do you want your kids to really learn? Because I think a lot of parents, we're kind of floating along. We're kind of winging it, right? Like, I didn't get a ton of, I wouldn't say I had, you can dig into anybody's past. Everybody can bitch about their past. You know, you were broke. I was broke. You know, my parents were both Marines. They were tough, you know, not a lot of compassion, not a lot of, you know, I'd say like nurturing type of love. Right. So we're all victims of our background, but I don't think anybody in these days that I see, they make an intentional purpose to say, here's what I want my family to carry on with. Here's the values that we have in our family. And that's what my wife and I just did on our vacation we just took in February, is we wrote that out. And that's going to be the foundation of what Wayward Sons is. The goal is to turn it into some sort of a book at some point, because I just have it stuck in my head that I got to write a book. I may not sell a copy. Will you buy one copy?
Yeah, but you'll sell one.
I'll sell one copy. And then just go from there. So
no, I think it's great. I'm a fan. I will definitely buy one. You'll probably make it like $99.99 or something just to be a dick. But,
That's right.
So, well, I think the thing of like I've also been working on a book, and the thing is, like, with people, you know, you get imposter syndrome. Like, you know, you probably had it throughout life. Like, oh, no one wants to read. Like, you just kind of had a little bit with the joke, right? Like, you know, will anybody buy it? Who cares? You write the book for you, number one, and then your goal is to help other people through writing it, and you know, you hope like hell that, you know, people get benefit from it. And at the end of the day, if it helped you, knowing that you can help somebody else doing it, it was worth every second. And you know, I tell you, you'll be a better person when you're done with it.
Right, and you know, Scott, you've lived a pretty awesome life, pretty fast, you know, through the years. Same thing, probably very similar. You know, names and faces, places are probably a little bit different, but situations are probably all still really the same. And, you know, I've got tremendous experience in business, personal life, kids. Just, I don't think there's anything I haven't experienced. And now I've experienced a total global pandemic shutdown. And, if I can write one thing and people will get something out of it, one person, which a lot of people are, that's great, right? That's what it is for me. I'm not doing anything for money or right now. It's just a different place in my life where it's about making a difference at this point.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. You start by saving one life. Yours.
Mine.
There.
Oxygen mask right here.
And then bring the others. So, well, we always go long, which we did again today, which is awesome. Do you have anything else you want to add? Pat Crosby, CrossFit SISU in Excelsior, Minnesota. The blog or the weekly blog is Wayward Sons, correct?
Wayward Sons Living. Yep, waywardsonsliving.com.
And if people want to get in touch with you, what is the best way? They want to join the gym. They want, I wouldn't ask them to ask you for father advice, but no, but just kidding.
Right.
But if they want to if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Just you can hit me up on Facebook, Pat Crosby. You can direct message me, or Pat at CrossFit SISU.com. Just either, that's fine too. So
is that
Pat,
CrossFit XFit or is it it's XFit, right?
CROSS.
Okay.
FIT and then SISU. CrossFit SISU.
CrossFit spelled out, SISU, and then the website is the same, right? CrossFit SISU.
Yep. And then Wayward Sons Living, you can hit that website up. You can reach me, Pat at waywardsonsliving.com.
Awesome.
Either one's great.
Awesome. Or cool. And we'll put that information in wherever we publish this as we get everything up and rolling here. So Pat, I really appreciate it. This was awesome. Made my day.
You made my day. I blame you for my sobriety. You and my daughter, I blame you guys for the no alcohol. Blame you guys.
Yeah, well, that was very kind of you.
So your brain tumor had an impact on my life, just so you know.
All right. Well, we'll I'll pontificate on that later on a different podcast. No, just kidding.
Awesome.
No, I appreciate everything. Jeremy, thank you for your help today, as it were. And we will, Pat, I hope to see you around soon as soon as we're done social distancing. Otherwise, I'll see you on cyberspace.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right. See you guys.